What's good? It's Woog. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you are into the fight talk. We have Gervonta "Tank" Davis, 25 wins and 0 losses, defending his WBA regular, the lesser WBA lightweight title, against Isaac Cruz, 22 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw. This fight is taking place on December 5th at Staples Center in LA, Los Angeles, California. And this is actually this will be one day after Devin Haney takes on JoJo Diaz for Devin Haney's WBC lightweight belt. So within the same weekend, you'll get Haney versus JoJo Diaz and Gervonta "Tank" Davis versus Isaac Cruz. And this fight was originally supposed to be Gervonta Davis versus Vasiliy Romero, but Vasiliy Romero had some sexual allegations that basically took him out of this fight. So he's gonna, I believe, deal with those legal issues, but he won't be fighting Gervonta Davis on December 5th. And, you know, as far as replacement opponents go, I guess Isaac Cruz is a pretty good replacement. I mean, I didn't think Vasiliy Romero had a great shot against Gervonta Davis. I really don't think Isaac Cruz has a solid chance against Gervonta Davis, and we'll get into why. But I really want to just take a moment and discuss Gervonta Davis and the idea that we basically have one of the better pound-for-pound talents in the sport, as far as I see it, just in terms of putting the different God-given abilities with the skills together, and then having the heart, the competitiveness, the ability to perform under pressure, all those things. I think Gervonta Davis is damn good. And, you know, he made a splash a few years before he even won a belt. He won his first belt, the IBF 130-pound title against Jose Pedraza in 2017. To me, that win over Pedraza is still his best win in terms of the opponent that he was going against and the part of their career trajectory that they were in when they fought Tank Davis. Like, obviously, Leo Santa Cruz, who Gervonta Davis knocked out 2 fights ago, has a much bigger name than Pedraza. I mean, and Leo Santa Cruz is a future Hall of Famer, but he was fighting at 130 where he had his best days at 126 or even at 122. So he was kind of a fish out of water, or at least in a division that wasn't optimal to maximizing his skill set, Leo Santa Cruz, as far as I saw it. But you know, before Gervonta Davis even won that IBF belt against Jose Pedraza in 2017, a belt that he would lose a couple fights later on the scales, David Benavidez, remember, he lost his 168-pound WBC belt for the second time on the scales before that fight against Romer Angulo, not Alfredo Angulo, Romer Angulo. Well, before Gervonta Davis defended his IBF 130-pound title for the second time against Francisco Fonseca, he missed weight, lost the belt on the scales. But hailing from Baltimore, Maryland, Gervonta Davis was such a prodigious young talent that 2 years before that first title win, 2017 against Pedraza, he was fighting on like the Mayweather-Berto undercard when he fought, it was Ricky Dulé. That was on Mayweather-Berto, and then he appeared again against Francisco Fonseca several fights later. Again, that's the fight where he would lose his title on the scales. He knocked Fonseca out in the 8th round, but that was on the Mayweather versus McGregor undercard. Huge exposure, but yeah, what a disappointing night, and it's such a big night to lose your title on the scales on. But for as good as Gervonta Davis has been, as well as he's performed, he's still undefeated. He's now won belts. He won a major belt twice at 130. I still think that that's where he had proven that he was, you know, I think that he had proven that he was elite at 130, but I think that that's where he was at his best. I mean, it might turn out that he's even better at 135, but he had beaten Pedraza at 130. He had won a share of the 130-pound title again later on, several fights later, against Leo Santa Cruz, because Gervonta Davis's 135-pound title was on the line, a lesser 135 belt, the one that he's still defending to this day against Isaac Cruz. But Leo Santa Cruz's 130-pound WBA super title was also on the line in that showdown against Tank Davis. So again, Tank Davis, a 2-time 130-pound title holder, and those were not the lesser titles, where Gervonta Davis has won lesser titles at 135 and at 140 in his very latest fight against Mario Barrios, somebody who was significantly bigger than him. And I mean, the size difference and the fact that he was testing somebody up at 140 in itself was an attraction. That's what made that fight interesting. It wasn't because Mario Barrios was an elite 140 guy. Again, he's a lesser belt holder. He's not Josh Taylor. He's not Regis Prograis. He's not any of the guys that we would classify as the elite in the division. I mean, now he's ranked top 10. But yeah, going into Davis versus Barrios, people weren't looking at Mario Barrios as being like the state-of-the-art 140-pound type of opponent. But again, just because Davis was testing himself in the weight class, it was like, okay, well, this is kind of interesting. But for as good as Davis has been able to navigate his career at this point, he has not fought the elite in any of these divisions. Again, I think Pedraza is the closest he's come to fighting an elite opponent for the division. I mean, as good as I thought he was at 130, he didn't fight, Oscar Valdez, Shakur Stevenson, Tevin Farmer when Tevin Farmer was rocking and rolling at 130, Joseph JoJo Diaz. Davis didn't fight these guys. At 135, he hasn't fought any of the elite. Same thing with 140. He's only fought Mario Barrios at 140. I don't look at that as being Davis's optimal division. 135 seems to be where he's going to settle into, at least for the time being. But he hasn't fought the best in any of these divisions and somehow has been able to manage getting by, scheduling opponent after opponent using some pretty creative matchmaking, like Rolly Romero. I mean, that was kind of an alternative power puncher at 135 who hasn't proven himself to be elite in the division. But he's an exciting young talent, just like Isaac Cruz, the guy who Davis is going to fight, is an exciting young talent in the division. Davis fought a nearly 40-year-old Yuriorkis Gamboa at lightweight 135. Gamboa was a former title holder back at 126, so even that was 2 divisions higher than when Gamboa was truly at his best. I mean, Davis did try to schedule a fight with Abner Mares. Abner Mares had to pull out in the days leading up to the fight due to injury. That would have been an interesting test. I actually went to that fight. Davis ended up fighting Hugo Ruiz, the late replacement for Abner Mares, and knocked Ruiz out in the first round. So that was just a bit of bad luck in terms of the good opponent that you had scheduled having to pull out of the fight. But yeah, Davis has pretty much, we could all agree that Davis is an elite talent. We just haven't seen that talent tested against the very best that like 135 or even 130 had to offer. And, much of this is because PBC just isn't stacked at 130, 135. They are lacking elite talent in those divisions. I mean, again, they have some exciting looking young prospects, but Top Rank is much stronger at 135 and 130. Even DAZN, they've got Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia. One managed by, Matchroom Eddie Hearn, the other promoted by Golden Boy Oscar De La Hoya. But the DAZN platform currently has better talent at 135 than PBC has. I mean, there's certain divisions where PBC is rocking and rolling. 147, 154. 135 and 130, yeah, those aren't those strong divisions for PBC. And I feel like Gervonta Davis's fight-by-fight opponent matchmaking has kind of suffered because of it. Like, again, they had to reach back and get Leo Santa Cruz and keep him up a division. I mean, Santa Cruz had one fight at 130 before locking horns with Gervonta Davis, who was a big 130 to begin with. So, yeah, this is really, I'm not going to call it smoke and mirrors. It's really just been unfortunate matchmaking based on who you have in your stable in those divisions. So we've got Isaac Cruz here, late replacement again for Rolly Romero. And, Isaac Cruz, I just don't see a path to victory for the guy. I mean, he's been working up, beating at least some names. Like he knocked out Diego Magdaleno in the first round. His most recent fight was against Francisco Vargas, who had his best days at like 130, 126. This is somebody who 6 years ago had a fight of the year against Orlando Salido, a very durable brutal and rugged 126-pounder. Famously gave, Lomachenko his first and for a long time only loss in a very controversial type of fight. Salido missed weight, was hitting below the belt, just using a whole bunch of roughhouse tactics, but he got the decision win over Lomachenko. Francisco Vargas, who is Isaac Cruz's last opponent, was basically a couple divisions up from that and was like in his mid-30s by the time he fought Isaac Cruz. And he still went the distance against Cruz. So Cruz is known to be a pretty rugged, damn near brawler. Like, he's a hard puncher, and he throws hard punches, throws hard combinations, hard left hooks, right hooks. He fights from an orthodox stance. Gervonta Davis is a southpaw, so I'm looking for potentially an early knockout here if Davis could catch him with a nasty right hand. But Isaac Cruz hits hard, throws a lot of punches. He comes forward. He just likes to just sit there in the pocket and really bang. Throws with both hands. And again, he is a hard puncher, but like his last two fights went the distance. Like, you'd have to go way back to find a fight where Gervonta Davis went the distance. I'm talking like when Gervonta Davis was fighting 6-rounders. Like, he only has one decision in his entire career. 24 of his 25 wins have come via knockout. So even Isaac Cruz's strength here, which is his punching power and volume, he's at a deficit because he doesn't hit nearly as hard, in my opinion, as Gervonta Davis. Like, do you think Francisco Vargas would have gone the distance against Tank Davis? I mean, maybe Isaac Cruz does have a promising career ahead of him. I tend to think that his style of fight might make for a relatively short shelf life, because I think Isaac Cruz's chin is just too available to get hit. And he's not showing a lot of deception in his punches. I mean, he has improved certain skills. His jab, sometimes throwing a double jab, trying to set up his power punches a little better. But by the time you get to the third, fourth, fifth round, he's pretty much doing what Isaac Cruz does and just lets his hands go. And I'm just saying, with somebody who's got the hand speed, the timing, and the setups and deception of Gervonta Davis, again, this guy was fighting basically a 6-foot Mario Barrios, who does, to his credit, hit pretty hard. So this was a pretty dangerous matchup for Davis, in my opinion. And you had to see how Davis was having to navigate through the rounds to be able to set up the better power punches. And, this was a fight where, 8, 9 rounds into the fight, it was anyone's guess who was winning the fight and who was gonna win the fight. Like, Floyd Mayweather had to go up to the apron and whisper in Gervonta Davis, not whisper, but declare to Gervonta Davis, hey man, you might be losing this fight. I saw the unofficial scorecard. They've got, Mario Barrios up. You've got to get busy. And Gervonta Davis is looking at him like, what? And Floyd Mayweather's like, you want me to keep it real with you, or you want me to lie to you? I'm being real with you. You got to step it up because you might be losing this fight. So, Gervonta Davis, you have certain fighters who are exquisite round winners. I look at Devin Haney, Demetrius Andrade. You've got guys who are just Lomachenko, who are just built to win rounds. If they're not getting the knockout, they're the type who could cruise to an 11 rounds to 1 type of decision win. Gervonta Davis tends, he'll lose a round or 2 or 3. Like, he has been in some pretty interesting and tough fights, like Leo Santa Cruz, before he knocked him out cold with a vicious uppercut in the 6th round of their fight. Leo Santa Cruz was pushing Gervonta Davis to a degree. It looked like there were several rounds that, you could say Gervonta Davis won, you could say Leo Santa Cruz won. Again, it was looking like it was in the balance going into the middle rounds. But Gervonta Davis just has one of those buttons, those get you out of a difficult fight buttons, that you could just land the right shot that ends the entire thing. Only certain fighters have that type of capability, and it's quite the blessing to be able to hit that button and get out of a difficult fight. So you've got Gervonta Davis, Teofimo Lopez, Ryan Garcia, who, even if they're losing the fight, they could pull that trigger and end it all at any moment. And another reason why I don't see a true path to victory for Isaac Cruz against Gervonta Davis is because, a lot of power punchers, they're very dangerous and deadly in the early rounds, and then their power tends to fade in the middle and late rounds. You look at Gervonta Davis's career, he's got that 11th round TKO of Mario Barrios, 6th round knockout against Leo Santa Cruz, 12th round knockout against Yuriorkis Gamboa. 8th round knockout of Francisco Fonseca, 9th round knockout of Luis Sanchez way back in 2015. Like, he's been going late into fights for several years now, really. I mean, for as young as Davis still is, he's got a lot of late fight experience, and his power has proven to carry to the middle and late rounds, which is a very scary proposition for opponents. Like, you know how Canelo Alvarez can stop you in the 2nd round, 6th round, 10th, 11th round? Well, Gervonta Davis has that put your lights out late in a fight type of power, which, again, that is just very difficult to deal with when you're also, again, dealing with a skilled southpaw who's got a lot of craft, who's pretty elusive. Given his height, Gervonta Davis is about like 5'6", still 2 inches taller than the very short Isaac Cruz, who's 5'4". I mean, Gervonta Davis is just a handful to deal with. And look at Isaac Cruz's reach. It's 63 inches compared to Gervonta Davis for, again, as short as he is, has a 68.5-inch reach. Significant height and reach advantage, and usually these are areas where Gervonta Davis is often at a deficit. Again, 68.5 inches as your reach is very long for a 5'5.5" fighter, but Davis is usually the shorter fighter when he fights. And in this case, he actually has a couple inches in height over Isaac Cruz. He's not used to having that luxury. Davis isn't. So what do I think is going to happen when the guy has a punching power advantage, experience advantage, speed advantage? Is the southpaw, height advantage, reach advantage, defensive advantage. Gervonta Davis is a much better defender than Isaac Cruz. Isaac Cruz's defense is his offense. Gervonta Davis can actually slip a lot of punches and can counter off of the slip brilliantly. I do not see this going well for Isaac Cruz. I mean, maybe there's some exciting moments early in the fight just because of Isaac Cruz's fight style. I just don't see somebody who likes to get dirty in the pocket and likes to let both hands go like Isaac Cruz does, jumping into the pocket against Gervonta Davis time and time again without getting blasted into oblivion at some point because of not only the punching power of Davis, but the boxing IQ, the sophistication in his game. I look at this as being maybe as bad a mismatch as I looked at Gervonta Davis versus Rolly Romero. I at least thought that Rolly Romero had an unorthodox style in deploying his power punches, but I thought that that was going to be his undoing too. The fact that he leaves his chin out there when he's throwing not only his power shots, but his jab as well. So I thought that Gervonta Davis would finish Rolly Romero. I think that Gervonta Davis is going to finish Isaac Cruz. Cruz just doesn't have the disguises in setting up his power punches, doesn't have enough deception, doesn't have enough head movement, doesn't have enough just pure boxing ability to really hang, in my opinion, with Gervonta Davis. I'm trying to think of if I'm missing anything here. Like, if there is an X factor that Isaac Cruz has. I mean, he's pretty durable. I mean, he's only lost one fight. It was via decision. So he himself has a lot of late round experience. So maybe if Davis gets tired, but, you know, I thought that maybe Leo Santa Cruz would be able to kind of flood Gervonta Davis with activity where he puts his opponents, he being Santa Cruz, puts his opponents on like a treadmill from hell where he's got such volume throughout the entire fight where if you can't keep up with that and then you start falling behind on the scorecards, you might start panicking, trying to up your volume and thinking, oh man, I got to keep pace with this guy. And then that's how Santa Cruz gets into your head, starts winning even more rounds, and then you start drowning in the flood. Well, Gervonta Davis had the presence of mind to try to set up nice uppercuts and power punches because basically using Leo Santa Cruz's volume against him, I could only imagine what he's going to do with a fighter like Isaac Cruz, who's so front foot heavy and who likes to bang like Isaac Cruz does. Unless Isaac Cruz basically learned a lot of skills that I haven't seen him employ yet, and all of a sudden becomes a sweet science back foot fighter and is able to just show many more dimensions in his game that I just wasn't privy to. Unless all of these things just happen over the course of this last training camp for this Gervonta Davis fight, I really don't see Isaac Cruz having much of a chance versus Davis. So, yeah, I've got Davis by, probably early or middle round knockout. I don't even think I see this one going into the late rounds. Unless Isaac Cruz just has like a young Ricardo Mayorga-like chin where you just cannot put the guy away. I see this as being a pretty one-sided type of fight. I mean, maybe Isaac Cruz could get him into a total gunfight where both guys are getting rocked by punches, but I would really be surprised if Gervonta Davis shows that type of defensive lapse and that type of just relinquishing of your sweet science game to allow himself to just go toe-to-toe in a phone booth style fight without showing any of his sophistication. But if Gervonta Davis fights this fight like he's fought his last few, yeah, I think Gervonta Davis is going to get him out of there. The question is, if he finishes or beats Isaac Cruz, I think he's going to finish him. Where do you go from here if you're Gervonta Davis? Do you go back to the Rolly Romero fight? Do you fight another prospect in Chris Colbert? I don't think they're going to fight. I don't think that PBC is going to send Chris Colbert, feed him to the wolves this early in Colbert's promising career. But what do you do without doing any sort of a cross-promotional effort to secure a meaningful fight for Gervonta Davis at 135? I feel like they're going to have to work with like Eddie Hearn in Matchroom or Golden Boy if they want to make it happen with, Ryan Garcia, Eddie Hearn, Matchroom, obviously, if they want to do the Devin Haney fight. There's just so many great fights that can take place. I hate the idea of PBC acting in an insular way and only allowing Gervonta Davis or choosing to only have Gervonta Davis fight other PBC guys because, again, this just isn't their division where they are holding the cards and having the bulk, the lion's share of elite talent at 130 and 135. I want to see Gervonta Davis fight Vasiliy Lomachenko. We've got to find a way to make these fights happen. But yeah, let me know what you think of Gervonta Davis versus Isaac Cruz. Who do you see winning this one and why? And what do you want to see unfold in the aftermath of Davis versus Cruz? Please leave your comments in the comments, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you are into the fight talk. I'm Woog. Thanks for tuning in.